Good morning. Good morning. Almost at 11:11. We almost made it. Good morning. I apologize. We're a couple of minutes late. As we say, 11 a.m.-ish. We've got, unfortunately, Teresa has a sick kiddo at home. So that needed tending to because family comes first. We all know that. So before we get into today's episode, I just want to remind everybody. Oh, no, actually, I was thinking today was the last Tuesday of the month. It's actually next Tuesday. But anyway, let me just go into it. So for those of you who do not know, we are obviously in the midst of growing our impact, reaching more people, having these episodes touch more lives, as we obviously believe that what we're talking about here is really important. And everybody who tunes in regularly agrees. I've had a couple people say that they treat each episode as a mini masterclass. I know people who set alarms to religiously show up. I know other people who make sure that they at least are watching the replays religiously because they get so much out of it. And Teresa and I both are constantly receiving messages about how every episode gives at least one epiphany, one aha moment. So in an effort to do that, we would love to ask the people who are already hanging out with us and already watching to help us spread the word by sharing our episodes. So all you have to do is share this video. This unfortunately only works on Facebook. So I'm talking to those of you who are watching on Facebook, to share the video on Facebook and then comment shared below so that we can track and make sure we know who's sharing. And then in exchange, we've created an affirmation poster, a custom, not a custom subliminal, but it's an exclusive subliminal made only for people watching our episodes, and a guided meditation as well. So if you comment shared, I will get in touch with you and get you the link for that. And to sweeten the pot a little bit, which is why it's relevant that it's near the end of the month, every time you share, whether it's your first time or fifth time, and for every person you tag in the videos in the comments below, you get an additional entry to a draw that we're doing monthly, where you get one custom subliminal made by me and one Reiki session done by Teresa. And believe me when I tell you, you want these prizes, because we are making it even more juicy, because what we'll do is I will create the custom subliminal first, and then you'll have it to listen to while you're doing your Reiki session with Teresa, because we've uncovered that is like the ultimate tapping into the magic. So believe me when I tell you, you want this prize. So all you have to do is share the video, comment, share, tag your friends, tag your neighbors, tag your coworkers, help us spread the word. For every interaction you give us along those lines, you get an extra entry into the draw. We do the draw once a month. So like I said, I thought today was the last Tuesday of the month. It's actually next Tuesday, but that's good because you have extra chances to get into the draw. And then we will do the draw live on the first Tuesday of June. And then we'll go forward with that. So we would love it if you would help us out with that. And in exchange, we would love it for you to be in the running to win this awesome prize. I cannot wait to make you a custom subliminal. I love doing it. Teresa's Reiki sessions are next level. And like I said, you add in the custom subliminal while you're having that kind of energetic work done, and
it's fast track. Reprogramming the subconscious mind. Like, it's the fastest, easiest way possible. Fast tracking you.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So, and that all being said, I mean, we can put subliminals. I can put subliminals into I'm sorry. I've had too much coffee. I can put your affirmations into the subliminals about, getting into your zone of genius and taking that big leap and trusting the universe and trusting yourself and letting the opportunities come to you and expanding into, like I said, out of your zone of excellence and into your zone of genius, and dropping into Einstein time, which we don't actually talk about until chapter 6, but he does kind of like make way for it in this chapter. And it's a real thing. That's all I can say. So it's just very exciting, and where I'm very excited.
Yeah, so, I loved this chapter. It was really like, okay, so if you guys are actually following along and reading through the chapters, like for me on this one, it was just a realization, right? We're talking about the upper limits because obviously we need to know about them to see where we're stopping ourselves. But once you read this chapter, you realize what's unfolding here, right? Your zone of genius is your purpose here on this fucking earth, literally being unfolded for you right here. This is your roadmap to get you there. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Once, like, the beginning of this chapter talks about making the commitment, right? Think about that, how we talk about manifestation.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, this is my fucking desire. I want this no matter what. Nothing is going to stop me. Once we make that commitment, like, this is it, this is what I want, it's coming. What happens? Then the universal forces start getting to work, right? And leading us on the path. We get that knowing feeling, we get the nudges. And I felt like this was just hitting on every single theme right here in this chapter.
Yes. Well, and he even says, I mean, I love that he doesn't actually say what we're saying, but he is kind of saying it, because he says somewhere in here, like, you don't have to understand how it's going to unfold. You don't have to know how the time will be made, how the way will be made. All you have to do is commit to doing it, committing to finding it, committing to spending more time in your zone of genius, committing to understanding what your reason for being here is, which is your zone of genius. And a way will be made for you. And he doesn't say it.
I wrote it down right here. He says, your commitment must come before you know how to make good on it, right? When we're manifesting our desires, we're having blind faith. We're committing to them, and we're believing wholeheartedly that our subconscious mind, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, is going to start opening the road, leading us exactly where we're supposed to be. And I thought, I was just like, I was yelling when I was reading this part. He says, your commitment must come before you know how to make good on it. Then he says, if you will make a powerful, sincere commitment, a vow that you really want to live your life in the zone of genius, your journey will be blessed with uncommon good fortune and all the twists and turns of the road. Commitment has that power. Think about that, right? Even we said with the magic, what happens? We're keeping ourselves in that higher vibration. We have our dreams, our goals, desires. It's already there. Your subconscious mind already knows. We don't even have to remind it 24/7. Our job is to keep ourselves in that feel-good feeling. And then everything just unfolds magically. He's saying this in his own words right here. They're like so powerful. Like, oh my gosh, you're going to hit good fortune at every turn, but you got to make the commitment. And it's true, you guys. Like, we've talked about this in other episodes too. What is your why? Why are you doing this? It has to be bigger than yourself. It has to be so huge, because we're going to have to keep coming back to it. It's a 24/7 job to keep committing to yourself over and over and over again, because all the things that he talks about will keep pulling us back into our old way of being. And I felt like he was even tapping on like neuronal pathways in his own words here as well, you know?
Yeah.
This is where I was just like, okay, he's guiding us to get complete clarity on what our purpose is here. Because most of us, I'm going to say 100% of you, I'm not even bullshit, that come across us know that you're meant for so much more in this life, but you don't know what it is, and you don't know how to fucking get there. So, right, this book is tapping on all of the roadblocks that you're going to hit on the way, right? As you're going through this, it stops you, the worry, the fear, all of that. And then it's like, okay, now once you have this awareness of all of these things, and you can override the programming, because we're going to have to keep doing this. And this is everything that we're doing is always right on fucking time. And I'm going to tell you why, because I had somebody the last few days, right? She's doing this work as well. And she was so like on fire. Okay. Ready to go. Oh my God. Yes, this is great. Da, 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 da. And then all of a sudden I get a message like, hey, I'm feeling like shit today. Everything's triggering me. You know, this person's pissing me off and that person's pissing me off. And I'm like, why? Why do you think that this is happening? Right? That old way of being is creeping back in. You're right there at the finish line. The ego doesn't want to die. It's bringing you back. Okay. So this literally is a choice that we have to make all day long, you guys. It's not like, oh, I come in here with Danielle and Teresa, or I have my coaching sessions with them and then it's done. No, this is continuous, because as soon as you leave here, all those things are going to creep back in again. So it's you constantly committing to yourself, committing to this journey, and your why. You have to have it there.
Yeah.
And then asking yourself, when these things come up, why are they coming up? Right? This person was being triggered. Why are you being triggered? Well, because I'm pissed off. Well, why are you pissed off? You're on the path of healing and becoming whole with yourself. Yeah. All those old ways of being, you don't need them anymore. There's just so many realizations. And this has to be, everybody's going through this right now, because, you know, every time we side tangent is everybody's going through right now.
It's serving the greater good. Yeah.
You know, and I had to bring it to her attention. Like, dude, you've lived in this masculine survival mode for so long, but you're safe now. You're safe. Like, you have to tell yourself this. You have to let your nervous system know, I'm okay. You don't need to respond like this to make me run from these things anymore. I don't want to run anymore. I'm here and I want to do this work.
Right.
You know, and it's such, then that it starts becoming a beautiful journey. And you're like, oh shit, realization. Oh my gosh. Okay. This is why I've been doing this for so long. But yeah, and then she was just like, oh shit, you're right. I don't like, there's no reason for me to be angry no more. I'm like, yeah, like let it go. You don't need it.
Well,
but
when
that
you
old
realize,
wiring keeps creeping in.
Yes, because part of the work is to realize that even the things that trigger you are serving you. Like part of the whole thing, and Teresa and I've talked about this before, and I talk about it like till I'm blue in the face. Part of the thing is you have to shift your perspective to how you're even seeing and perceiving the things, right? You have to really, it's a job in itself to separate your human from your spirit, basically, right? And allow your human to have the experiences while your spirit kind of steps away and goes, okay, hang on a second. Like, this is happening for this reason, and this is a lesson for that. And because everything is unfolding in your favor. He says right here, we all need to be on the lookout for signs of our upper limit problem every day of our lives. It's a constant quest because we're always raising the bar on ourselves. The better we get, the better we want to be. And he says right in this book, he's like, I myself got stuck in my zone of excellence because I got to the point where, because you have to remember, you get to your zone of genius. And then if you are not continuously looking for the upper limits, you will, like Teresa said, fall back into your zone of excellence. And you might not even realize it's happening, right? Because you think, well, I've reached my zone of genius. I've, found my purpose. I've whatever. But so Gay Hendricks says in this book, he's like, I didn't even realize myself. He's like, it got to the point where I thought something was wrong with me. I went to the doctor and the doctor's like, no, like you're in perfect health. And then he was like, oh my God, I upper limited myself. He's like, it got to the point where I literally can go, 19 speaking engagements in 21 days and this and that. And I'm making millions of dollars. So I didn't see it. But this is, I think, part of the problem too. He doesn't say this, but this is something that I was going to say earlier when Teresa was talking a few minutes ago, is your why also, I feel, needs to be bigger than material things. Like, yes, of course, we want to hit certain income goals because it costs money to live, and we're here to expand and experience life, and you can't do that without money. And yes, we want nicer houses and nicer cars and this and that and the nicer whatever. But I find that if the why is not even bigger than that, like, okay, let's just, like Teresa said, if you're here following us, whether this is the first time you've ever heard us speak, or this is the 19th time you've heard us speak, or whatever, you've been in our lives for a while, you're here because you have a higher purpose, and it is to serve other people in some way, whether it's a small, in your community, or whether it's big, like you're meant to write a book or speak on stages or lead, I don't know, whatever, right? So for us specifically, okay, that makes you a light worker, just FYI. And I remember I had one girl, I said years ago, I said, if you're following me, you're a light worker. And she was like, I don't really feel like that, but I'm going to continue listening to what you have to say because I like the way you talk about manifesting and mindset and all that stuff. And then last year she comes back and she's like, so it's funny because I remember rolling my eyes at you. Obviously you couldn't see me. I was rolling my eyes at you when you said that I was a light worker. And all of a sudden I find myself, I had an epiphany the other day because she was taking some courses on how to use like NLP and hypnotherapy and all this. And she's like, oh my God, I'm a light worker. You were right. And I was like, it's maybe you don't realize it when I say it. Like maybe right now you're like, no, but I guarantee you there's going to be some point in the future, whether it's next week or next year or 10 years from now, you're going to go, oh my God, she was right. But anyway, so my point is, for those of us who are light workers, we need to have a why bigger than material things, right? So our why usually is in serving humanity in some way. What is it that you are passionate about that you wish more people knew? Because this chapter is about building a new home in your zone of genius, right? Like figuring out what it is that your gift is, making a commitment to that, and then doing that. Because in doing that, in being in the zone of genius, especially for people who are here listening to us, maybe not everybody who reads the book, period, but people who are listening to us specifically, your zone of genius is going to be something that is in servitude of others. ultimately in servitude of the universe, helping make the world a better place, right? In this lifetime and future lifetimes, because the work that we're doing also has an amazing ripple effect. Like I say to my clients all the time, and I watch it happen because I serve light workers too. And so I say to them when they come, you know, they say, well, I figured out my purpose. It's this, that, and the next thing. I'm like, okay, think about this though. It's not just the direct impact you're going to have on your clients, right? By you living your purpose and living in your zone of genius and sharing your light, not only are you living your purpose, which is in itself a great thing, but it puts you in a better state, right? Think about, like he talks about in this chapter, Teresa was just reading that excerpt there, where when you are living in your zone of genius, things just work out for you, right? Things just flow for you. Abundance flows to you. Good opportunities flow to you. Good, like just you're in that good feeling state the majority of the time. And just that alone, I mean, like I said, your purpose on one hand, yes, that serves an amazing purpose on its own. But by you living in your zone of genius, just the vibe you give off, then you're a better parent, you're a better wife, you're a better friend, you're a better daughter. Then the people that you touch go out and touch people. Okay. So your husband is in a better state. So then he's in a better place at work or with his employees or whatever. Your kids, they're better off. So then their friends are better off. Their teacher is better off. Right. And then those friends, they go home and they say something to their mom and their mom's like, oh my God, I never thought about it like that. And I'm getting excited about it because it's like, you have to understand the ripple effect is so much bigger than just, I want to be happier, which is like, that's fantastic. And I'm so glad that that's what brought you to us, to this book, that you just want to get unstuck. Because like Teresa said, 100% of you who are listening to us now, or when you first came to us, whenever that may have been, you were guided to us because you're not happy, you know there's more for you, and you're just not sure how to get about it. You're stuck, right? So think about the impact that has. The breadcrumb is you want to find your purpose, but by finding your purpose, oh my God, like it just a regular person who's not out putting their face on social media once a week for all the world to see. We once had a mentor say to us that just the average person will have an impact on about 1,000 people's lives in a lifetime. Okay, so even if you just have a positive impact on 1,000 people, each of those 1,000 people, if they're just a regular person, they have an impact on another 1,000 people, right? So even just that alone is enough reason, right? So this is what I'm saying about getting deeper.
I feel like this will have like a huge effect even on relationships or marriages, because I feel like in my mind is so many people think that they're unhappy in their marriage, and it's not even the marriage. It's they're unhappy because they're not fulfilled. Right. Their soul is not on fire. Yeah. And through this work, you can light your soul on fire. I feel like it's going to save so many relationships. Seriously.
No, amen. I mean, like 1,000%.
Because it puts you into the flow. And there's a part in here, I don't want to jump ahead too much, but he does talk about how, you start putting your housework before what you love to do, so what happens when that happens? And you start getting pissed off at your partner unconsciously all the time, right? You take things out on them because you're not happy, when it's really not even their fault. It's the work that you have to do internally. So just imagine if everybody's doing their own internal work, how many marriages are going to last and be amazing? You know what I'm saying? Because even for me, I think about this all the time. Like, just because I've had bad experiences or see other people going through shit or whatever, doesn't mean nothing. I still believe in marriage. I still believe in husband, wife, happy home, white picket fence. That's a belief in my reality. Therefore, that motherfucker is going to appear, period. But I got to put in work. And so does my partner, so that we're not unconsciously jabbing at each other 24/7. And it's really not that, it's really not an issue between us. Like, if you married somebody, there's obviously love there. If you're in this, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It just, things get lost along the way through daily life shit that we go through. Yeah. But returning again back to your purpose, how can you not be happy and fulfilled and like exuding that through your whole fucking home? And this is, yes, we're women. We speak to women because we are women, but this is not just for women. It's for men too. Same shit. They start taking things out on their wives because they're unhappy and they're working all these hours and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they're making the money, but because they're not in their zone of genius, it feels like a fucking chore. He says this right here. When you're living in anything but your purpose, you live in frustration and you feel sad or irritated, frustrated about the amount of your precious time that gets eaten up in the necessary trivia of your day. Think about that. That's so fucking true. I know for a fact almost all of my Instagram followers are not living in their zone of genius. Why? Because I see them posting shit every day about this kind of stuff. You know, like, fuck, it's Monday again. Here we go. I just closed my eyes, back to fucking work. Mm-hmm. You know, it's talking about how miserable they are during the day. And I know a lot of them that have amazing homes, cars, they have all the things, but their soul is not happy because they're not living their purpose. And for many reasons.
Right.
Number one, though, is fear, which is a liar.
Well, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. But this is again why I'm saying about material things, right? Because when you really boil it down, and I'm not knocking having material things. Okay. Like obviously, like I'm literally wearing a diamond necklace. Like I obviously am into it, like at least to a degree, right? This is actually a gift from my husband, just FYI, for our first Christmas. But I just feel the need to say that. But a lot of the time, a lot of the material things we want, and I'm speaking from experience here. Okay. This is, and I openly admit there was a chunk of time after I started my business that I felt like I needed to keep up with everybody else. So I needed to want these things and then I needed to achieve them. And then the longer I didn't achieve them, the worse I felt about how I wasn't where I was supposed to be. Right. Okay. This is so relevant. I'm having an epiphany right now. I don't know who's seen the movie Passengers. It's like kind of a sci-fi movie. Usually I'm not really into it, but I actually have watched it twice now because it's actually so good. And there's a quote in there and I'm going to butcher it, but basically she's saying like, we cannot get so hung up in where we're not that we miss being where we are now. Right. And that's exactly the whole thing is that prevents you from living in your zone of genius by focusing on how can I get this and how can I get that and this material thing and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, then you'll go to work and stay in your zone of excellence, working jobs that pay well, for example, or that have you working tons of hours, but allow you to afford the house or the car or the whatever. But it's like, but why do you actually want those things though? Like, what are you trying to prove to who? What does it actually make you happy or not? Right? Like, does it actually light your soul on fire, or do you want it because so-and-so down the street, he's an executive and he has this car and you think it's cool, so you want to have one too? Like, yeah, there's tons of fancy vehicles that I would like to have, you know, but at the same time, it's like, what's more important to me is that I'm happy, that my family is happy, that I'm living my purpose. And yeah, eventually all of those things will come to fruition. That's the funny part. And that's, I think, the part that he's getting to the point in the book here. And what we're trying to help you get to is by living in your zone of genius, by finding your purpose, by making it a priority to make sure that you are happy and doing what you love, all of those other things will fall into place. Like, you don't need to worry about any of that. Right. But like in my example, I was spending too much time focusing on how can I make more money so that I can afford these things to impress these people that I don't even know, versus how can I make a bigger difference and help more people with the things that I know that I'm here to help people with. You know what I mean? That's when things start to really make a difference and really shift, because then everything else falls into place because you're not focused on these stupid material goals that don't, like, you follow what I'm saying? Like, am I making sense?
Yeah. And I feel the fact that we live in a social media world now, I know everybody says like, oh, social media is not real. It is real to the extent that if you're on it 24/7, you're constantly comparing yourself to other people's lives.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes with people around me, people arguing with their husbands because they saw this other woman whose husband is doing X, Y, and Z and all this shit. So it is real in that, right? It can affect our emotions. Absolutely. And comparing ourselves to other people and what they have, what we don't have. But it's not real in the fact that people only put on there what they want you to see.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I've put stuff on there that shows me out on vacation when I'm at home on my fucking couch. I don't care for you to know exactly what I'm doing, when I'm doing, or whatever and whatnot. But you see how easily you can sit there. You're arguing with your partner about what they're not doing for you, not knowing that this other person, they're probably going through hell. They're being cheated on, like all kinds. You never fucking know.
Yeah.
You never know. Stay in your own lane, worry about yourself, figure out what makes you happy. This is what this is about too, right? Because so many people, well, I don't know about you, probably when they come to me, I say, okay, well, if this journey is about us finding our joy from moment to moment, right? We have our desires, what makes you happy? Well, I don't know. Okay, well, that's your fucking job moving forward right now, to figure that out. What makes you happy? What drives you? This is what he's talking about right here too, right? Question number 1, what do I love most? What do I most love to do? Right? What can you do for long periods, stretches of time without getting bored or tired? And a lot of times, that causes us to go back to your childhood.
Yeah.
It usually started there. Something that you absolutely love, that was your passion, that got cut off somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like me, straight from high school, I wanted to go get my cosmetology license. That was my joy. I loved that. I mean, from 9 years old, I was doing people's hair, doing their hair and makeup for weddings at 9. Who the fuck does that? But that was my love. That was my passion. So I was good at it. I didn't feel like I was working, or I was excited for it. Oh, this person needs their hair done. Okay, let me go do it. Oh, they need makeup. Okay, let me go do it. But when I was graduating high school and I told my parents what I wanted to do, my dad was like, nope, you're going to school. You're going to go for RN. All right, fuck, it got shut off right there. My passion died in that moment because I was trying to appease my parents. So this journey is we got to dive deep here. We're going back to these things to see, where did your fire die out? Because it's all about bringing it back to life.
Yeah.
That's how you're in your zone of genius. Just like us. This doesn't feel like work to me. I'm not like, oh my God, here we go again. No, I'm just like, okay, let's go. I love this. I love helping people. I love speaking to people. I have found what I love to do, which is taking me into my zone of genius. I'm not living it fully yet, but I'm on that path. And I love when he says too, now that you have stepped out into the unknown, the bridge can appear under your feet. What?
I got chills.
What? Everything is going to be taken care of. You just have to make that commitment and take this chance on yourself. I'm telling you, like, our subconscious mind is so intelligent. It's insane. It literally scans the whole universe to bring us our dreams and our desires. It is a guarantee that if we have a desire on our heart, it will be delivered to us. We just have to keep showing up. You got to keep showing up. You have to be committed to yourself. You got to be fucking tired of being tired. And every time fear kicks in, what I fear most is being in the same place a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, not moving forward. That's real fear for me. That's what keeps me going. Like, no, I'm not stopping no matter what, because the bridges will keep appearing. The people will appear. Everything that you need is going to fucking appear. Our job is to find what makes us happy, literally. What doesn't feel like work? That's the second question, right? First one, he says, find what makes you happy. Second one, he says, what work do I do that doesn't seem like work? I can do it all day without ever feeling tired or bored.
Yeah. And chances are there's something, even if you're in a job or a career that's like so far from what you want to be doing, or what, there's some aspect of it that you probably are very good at and enjoy. Like, so, even if it's like 5 minutes of every day or 5 minutes of every week, there's something, and you can feel into that and figure out, okay, I want to be spending more time doing X, Y, Z. And just, I'm going to go off on a side tangent for a second, because I saw a post in a Facebook group this morning that I felt compelled to comment on, because she was like, look, I need to get a new job. I can't stay where I am. Just, while I get my business going. And I chimed in and I was like, okay, I get it that you're not happy where you are, but I was like, but it's been my experience, especially with my clients, that the more we jump around kind of like on the peripheral of what we actually want to be doing, we're signaling to the universe that we don't actually trust that what we want to do is going to work, or that it will be able to support us. I said, maybe it can't support you right now, and that's fine. And you're smart to stay employed and, don't jump ship until it can support you. But if it was me, I would spend let me backpedal a second. In this conversation specifically that we're having right here, I would say, find those things that you do enjoy doing in your job that you currently have and negotiate how you can spend more time doing those things. Like maybe you can augment your role a little bit. But then I said to this other person, I said, look, if it was me, I would spend every second outside of my job, every ounce of energy I had that wasn't dedicated to this job, I would spend building my business instead of going and finding a new job and, like further delaying the whole thing. And you have to think about too, like I said, this is a side tangent, but you have to think about too, it's a lot of mental strain to move employers and then learn a new job and all of this. Like you could dedicate all of that to your business instead. Like the only reason you're so unhappy with the job you have is because it rubs up against what you're supposed to be doing. Right. So for anybody who's watching, who is in a job they don't like, and they're so unhappy and they just cannot stand it, especially if you are trying to build a business or you're thinking about starting a business, but you don't know where to start. Like think about this. Yes, it sucks to be in a job you don't like, but that's your business funding right now. That's your venture funding. So stay there, see it as that. Because what I found, even that year that I had to go back to work, or the 15 months or whatever it was so much easier to be there, even when there was serious bullshit being stirred up. And I just it was toxic work culture and all this. But it was so much easier for me to be there and put up with that, knowing it's just okay, whatever. This is not my circus. These are not my monkeys. I'm going to be out of here in so many months. I'm dedicated to my goal. I'm going to make it happen. And it's just easier to swallow all of it when you're dedicated so strongly to something else. And for me, I was dedicated, and I didn't realize this. I hadn't read this book yet. I didn't realize it at the time. But what I was dedicated to was my zone of genius. And I was spending every moment I could outside of my job in my zone of genius and building up. And then I was kind of, funnily enough, bringing my zone of genius into the workplace. And I was kind of unintentionally, wherever the opportunity kind of arose, counseling the people in my workplace, right? And helping them find their joy and find their zone of genius and inspiring them to be. And that was partly was just my energy, because I was so hyped on what I was creating. And it's easier to turn your cheek to the things that are annoying at work when you're so dedicated to what you're building outside of it. I think a lot of us, because we're frustrated that we're not making the progress we want to make, we get sucked into the drama and the negativity and the things we don't like about work. And we're focusing on all of that. And of course, also when you're focusing on how all of these things are preventing you from being in your zone of genius, right? And all of the time it's taking away, I know, I had a client who was just but I'm working 40 hours a week at this job that I don't even like, and it's taking all this time away from this and da-da-da-da-da. And I said, well, let's find a way for you to leave that job. Let's build up a financial cushion. Let's do some things. And I've helped actually several of my clients be able to leave their jobs, build themselves up a little bit of a nest egg and be able to leave so that they could dedicate those 40 hours plus the, 3 or 4 or 5 hours they were dedicating outside of that to building a business. And they're like, well, they were afraid. And I said, I understand you're afraid. That's legitimate. But if you've already built your business to the point it is now in just a few hours a week, imagine what you can do when you don't have to split your attention and leave and come back. And you have all these hours, right? So I get that it's scary. And I understand some people want to jump ship because they think, well, the environment I'm in is not, and this goes for relationships too, right? The environment I am is not conducive to me building my thing. And there's all these, and I think he even says in this book somewhere in this chapter, there's all these external reasons why. If it weren't for insert blank, I could be doing what I really want to do, right? Most people have a carefully crafted, well-justified story about why they can't take their big leap. And that's, I understand that we're attached to those stories, and yeah, my husband's chiming in. Got to get past just being in love with the idea and not actually doing something about it. Exactly. Right. So you have to understand, and this is where this book and these conversations are so vital, because you have to become aware of where you're telling these stories, right? Where you're telling these stories, where they're showing up, how they're showing up, recognizing it and going, okay, hang on a second. I've just made an excuse for my limitations when really I should be looking for ways to negate the limitations, right? Whether it is a career or a relationship or an environment. Maybe you're living with people that are, I know some people in my world, they're living with people who are very negative and hard to get along with and all of that. And I get it. I understand. But
yeah, I've even had that realization recently, it's right. You really have to be happy and okay with where you are. Okay. Because whatever we're focusing on, it's growing. Whatever giving our attention to, it's making more of it. That's the only job of the subconscious mind. So, you know, even with your client, you know, coming in and saying, oh, I'm working 40 hours a week, he talks about this as well, right? It's not even all of those things. It's us creating these scenarios because of our upper limits, keeping us where we are. Right. And then in Genius question number 3, he talks about, you know, figuring out, once you figure out what makes you feel good, it's kind of like what Derek is saying right here, right? Being okay with the idea before even having it. Sit there, you know, relish in these ideas that you're coming up with, enjoy them, feel them, love them, be like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. The universe is putting all these different things in my mind and they feel so good. I can feel that they're actually going to work, right? Because also, again, yes, this is a book that we're reading, but reality is that this reality that we live in is an energetic, vibrational universe. So we have to start creating new energetic states, right? We've lived in these old ones for so long. Our self pulls us back. This is why number 3 comes into play again. My brain is just connecting manifestation over and over and over. Right? Totally. So bask in the ideas. Feel in that energy because you want to create a new energetic state that you're going to start living in. The more you stay there, the neuronal pathways, right? Your energy in general gets used to this and wants to keep coming back to it instead of pulling you backwards in the old state over and over and over again. We are literally we are rewiring everything. That's why it's so important to keep committing. We got to do it over and over and over and over until we make that shift into this new state. We have to accept where we are. We cannot focus on the lack. Even if you're at a job that you don't like, and I did this myself, right? I was like, oh, I hate going. I don't want to get up in the morning. But guess what happened? That trickled out into everything else in my life because the subconscious is only job is to give us more of what we're focusing on. Then I'm like, fuck, my whole life is falling apart. If I would have just switched my perspective in that moment, like, you know what? I'm so grateful that I have a job. This may not be my ultimate place that I want to stay, but being grateful for that in that moment, finding the abundance all around me, right? More things that I'm grateful for, then it's going to start showing up in other areas of our life and make that transition from where we are to where we want to be so much easier. Right. Because we don't realize we're building all this resistance and it's not just in that one area. Just because you're focusing on your job and how much you hate it or whatever, doesn't mean that the subconscious is going to say, okay, we're just going to give her more shitty job experiences. No, it goes out into everything that you're experiencing in your life. So it's so important we accept where we are. The magic even says, right, there was a day in there that talked about being at work. Tomorrow when you go to work, find all of the things that you're grateful for. Because then guess what happens? You also put yourself in a state of flow. So that next place that you want to get to will unfold effortlessly with grace and ease, right? The fucking bridge will appear out of nowhere. All of these amazing things start happening like it's your life becomes magic. Blessings become a normal thing when you're in the flow. So we have to accept where we are and get ourselves into the flow in every area. And then we just, we're on those, what is it, a lazy river? That's when we start going down. Instead of the whitewater rapids, we go onto a lazy fucking river.
Exactly. And so Derek's saying, so just for context, Derek is a manifesting generator. Okay. So anybody who knows anything about human design, so you know that one of the things that you guys are, like one of your signature things is learning something and getting really good at it and then kind of moving on to the next thing. Like you're not, and this is why neither of you and Derek specifically, I know personally, get bored easily and can't be in long-term jobs. And if you were employed, you're jumping around in roles because you just don't, it's just not your thing, right? And so he says, for some people like me, I never realized what I love. It's not just one thing. Some people think it's one thing, but it could be more. And you can't even imagine that it could be multiple things. It can take longer to figure out.
And this is a side tangent, not to cut you off, but just really quick for those who are watching, you really need to learn your human design because I'm sure Derek felt like me. I got shit for this like my whole fucking life. Why can't you can't fucking finish anything. You can't stay in one place. You can't this. I couldn't. I really couldn't. But I started thinking that there's something like mentally wrong with me, and you know, like maybe I need medication, maybe what's going on.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you come across human design, you're like, holy fuck, a manifesting generator. We're like butterflies. We're like, oh, a shiny object. Let me go over here. Let me learn this. It fulfills our soul. That lights us on fire. And to finally learn that this is part of our DNA, like our avatar makeup.
Right.
Like the suit that we chose to jump into is wired this way. Like there's nothing fucking wrong with you, man.
Yeah. Human design.
Figure it out, guys.
Human design in general, like I'm it's going on. Okay, let me finish what I was going to say, and then I'll go on a side tangent. What I was going to say was, well, for all of us, but manifesting generators, I feel specifically, or maybe not specifically, but especially need to follow their joy. Like they have to, because otherwise they will get bored in any environment. I have a couple of, Kaylee's asking any suggestions on where and how I can learn more about human design. I've got a couple people I can recommend to you. I will go back and I'll edit the description of this video with some Instagram links, and you guys can, because I don't teach it. And neither does Teresa. We just are interested in our own human design. But so for me, I'm a manifester. And so I have by nature a very repelling aura. So I never understood why some people just seem to just not like me. And I just didn't really understand why. And it's because I repel them. But other people who are into my energy, just like soak it up. They love everything that I say, everything that I do. They think I'm funny, right? And it's just like, okay, well, I like you because you think I'm funny. This is great. And so it's funny because too, one of my love languages is words of affirmation, but it's because as a manifester, I live on being told how I've impacted you and how I've made a difference. So when somebody says something nice about something that I've done, especially when it's something nice about me being in my zone of genius and being, you know, an initiator and a leader like I'm supposed to be as a manifester, it's just like, it feels so good, like so good. But Teresa's right. Figuring out your human design is, for her and I both, I feel like it gave me a permission slip to be who I am without feeling bad about any of it. Like, for example, I need to spend time by myself. Manifestors have very intense, like creative urges, which I have definitely experienced. It's funny because it all just kind of clicks into place after you figure it out. Very intense creative urges where it's like literally all I can think about, all I want to do is cranking out like a project, for example. But then, and not always after I'm finished, sometimes it's while I'm still doing it, I go into a rest cycle, and the rest cycles can last like days, weeks, literally months, where I don't have energy to do anything. So I used to think I'm super lazy, but it's not about being lazy. It's my body needs to rest so that I have, and my mind needs to rest so that I have the energy for the next creative urge to be able to crank out what I need to crank out. And it's just like,
it's literally how your avatar is wired.
Right.
Like, and it's just like, oh my God, everything makes sense.
Yeah.
And I totally relate to what Derek's saying right there, talking about how you get so good at something and then you get hated on because you just leave it behind. That's literally me. There's nothing that I haven't done that I haven't been like the fucking top at whatever it is. And I catch on super fucking quick, but then I'm like, okay, let me go over here. And I think it's important too, as parents, to see what your children are.
Yes.
Honestly, because we already know that personalities are different, so we have to love them differently like that. But oh gosh, I have one generator and a manifesting generator, and then 2 projectors.
Oh, geez,
which is a completely whole different thing. And I was like, holy shit, this makes sense. Here I am trying to bring them along the way I know it, you know, and adjusting to their personalities. But it's not just their personalities. I got to understand their avatar and how it works, right? Because I got beat up. I'm sure we all get beat up in our own ways by people who don't understand this. And it's not because they're trying to purposely beat us up. It's just we don't know what we don't know, right? So the same thing, parents like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I paid for all this schooling for you. You're fucking amazing at it. Why do you want to leave it? Well, because I'm really interested in going over there. I want to learn that over there now, you know? But now it all makes sense. God, it all makes sense now.
Yes. And by figuring out what your human design is, like this zone of genius stuff will make even more sense when you understand what your human design is. We probably should have said that, a few episodes ago, but it's coming up now for a reason. Figure out what if you don't know. Yeah, there you go. See, figure out what your human design is, because it will help you make more sense of it. Like for me, like I said, I'm a manifester. I'm meant to be an initiator. I'm meant to be a leader. I'm meant to not necessarily carry somebody along the whole way, but I am meant to spark inspiration, motivation, get something going, right? That's my thing. And I can see that 1,000,000% in where I have thrived in the past. And this is the thing about human design too. And even your zone of genius, like when you think about it combined, these are not new things that you're going to be like, oh, I just discovered this last week and I'm really good at it. It's not going to probably be that. It's generally going to be something from your childhood, like he's saying in the book. Like for me, as a kid, I used to...
Were you told that you were bossy?
Totally.
Yeah.
Super bossy.
I see that.
Bossy.
Because, now I can see other, I see children where... Yeah. Previously, I would have said, oh, she's bossy. But now I'm like, holy shit, this kid's about to change the world when she gets older. This is why she was given this. It's actually a gift, right? And I can call out the manifestors real quick now.
Yeah, I love, there's a couple of accounts I follow on Instagram. It's like, how to spot a manifestor. And she's like, check. Yeah. But, oh shit, what was I going to say? Manifestor. Oh yeah, when I was a kid, my things were, I like to write books. And I didn't write like novels, but I'm talking like a couple of pages. Like my son even writes books. It's funny. So I would write books. And also I remember even like, I would do it to my sister. I would do it at daycare. I would get like a board or something. And I would have people like sit at a table and I wanted to teach them something. Mm-hmm. Right. And of course we just came from school. So like, I don't want to play your game. Cause like we were just doing that all day. I want to, play Lego or whatever, but it's innately in me to teach and to lead and to motivate and to inspire. I cannot help it. And it makes sense when you know all this stuff, right?
Yeah. Oh, and he talks about this in the question 4, right? He talks about our unique ability that we have. Yeah. So we're figuring out what we love to do, something that doesn't feel like work. And then you need to identify what's your unique ability in this work that you love doing. Why do you love doing it? And it goes back to childhood. You're saying right now, you made the connections. For myself, right? I love helping people who are in a dark place. They're just searching for that light. That's all that they need. Please, somebody just give me this hope. Well, I dealt with a father who had depression his whole fucking life. And I didn't even realize it until I got older. And all I ever wanted to do was help him heal. How do I make this pain go away? How do I help him get over his trauma that he went through as a kid? And it's all connected. It goes back to that time, and going through this, I was reading the things that he says, like he's pointing out other people's unique abilities. He says, there's a special skill I'm gifted with. This unique ability, fully realized and put to work, can provide enormous benefits to me and any organization I serve or people, whatever it is, right? So I was like, oh my gosh, I have the ability, like I can feel people's energy. I feel their emotions. And it's like my mind goes 100 miles an hour and I can literally feel what it is that they're dealing with. And now I can see exactly what they need. It's crazy. Even when people just start talking to me, even if you're lying to me, my spirit gets disturbed. I have like this little special radar that goes off. And then instantly I know, okay, this is what they're dealing with. This is why they're responding this way. This is exactly what needs to happen. Yeah. It's funny right now. The human design girl just popped up Instagram notification. It's
really?
Fine, you guys. That's crazy.
It's a sign. Yeah.
I feel like I create a space for people to feel safe in, again, you can go back to your childhood. You can see where you were feeling for the adults or even other children. I wanted to be like, every time we went to Mexico, I wanted to bring every fucking kid back with me. I used to cry, but Dad, you have all of this money. We could just take them. We could feed them. We could clothe them, and here I am now, like I'm serving humanity. It literally, like anybody who talks to me that says, oh, my daughter or my son or my sister or my brother is going through this and they want to commit suicide and they're in a dark place. I'm like, here, give him my information. Let me talk to him right now. I already know, like, I know exactly the steps you need to take you out from that. And it's amazing. It feels good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's funny.
I have a whole long list too of so many more like unique abilities I'll keep to myself. But
well, it's funny because in this book, when he's talking to that one girl who says that she has a really good, he was at like a corporate meeting and she's like, I have a really good sense of when it's time to end one subject and pivot to another. And then it went deeper than that. But I was like, I thought of you right away. I was like, oh my God, Teresa. Actually, my husband's good at that too. He just has like, there must be some kind of like empath thing to the manifesting generator. Like, I don't know, but it's, I can see that you guys can, you can feel the energy.
As soon as I read that about her, I was like, it clicked in my head. Like, oh my God, I have the same fucking things. And then it just had my brain going like, oh, I do this, I do that. Da, da, da. Yeah. I feel like I can, anybody that I meet everywhere I go, I'm talking to everybody, you know, like give me 30 minutes. I'm going to shift your whole mindset. I'm going to light your soul on fire. You're going to be thinking completely differently, but it's because I immediately feel everybody's emotions, and it's my own pain that I experience as well. Plus on top of my father. Right. So I was given this father purposely.
Right.
I could see it as like, oh, you know, fuck, he handed down depression and all this trauma and all of this stuff. No, the love that I had for this person is what drives me now.
Right.
Right. Because everybody I come across, I don't want them to die not having healed, knowing that this world is actually beautiful. It's a beautiful fucking place. But if you can't get past that trauma and you can't get the vision to see, right? You walk outside. I mean, I did this in my own life. People would be like, but look at the sun shining. It's so beautiful. I can't see it. It's dark. Yeah. It's ugly. Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about. You know, even here's your kids. Look at your kids. Like your kids love you. Nah, no. Like it was so dark and ugly. And I just needed somebody to shine that light, but there was nobody there, you know? Right. And obviously that wiring got passed down through the DNA.
Right.
All the trauma got passed down.
Right.
So now it's like, I can see past the human. I see the souls. I see the pain. I see the children who are hurting. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And this started from my childhood. Right. I absolutely loved what you just said right now, that the lady said. It just like, oh my gosh, because me and you, it doesn't matter where you are in this journey. We're still searching. How can I help more? How can I improve more? You know, where can I make more connections? And this just like, holy fuck, I do have these unique abilities. And it like, let's go now. I want to run even more. Let's run faster.
Yeah, well, exactly. But I want to go back just 1 second. I want to say something. When you were talking about how, you know, you were given the father who dealt with depression. And so a point I want to make here, Teresa and I've talked about this, and I don't know what past episode, but about soul contracts and choosing, you know, like we choose our family members before we come here and things like that. So in Teresa's case, like in this specific example, her and her dad agreed to have this relationship where he would go through at least his portion of his life with Teresa in it, very depressed, very unhappy, and die never dealing with it, because if he had, she would not have the same purpose and the same passion to fix it as she does now. Like that's part of their soul contract, was he was here to show her what the repercussions of her not doing her work are for the people in her life now. So yes, she couldn't save her dad, but they agreed to that before they came here. He said, he volunteered, say, okay, when we come back in this life, I'm going to play your dad this time, because who knows, maybe he was her dog or something in another. This time I'm going to be your dad. This is what we're going to do. And this is how you're going to come into your power so that you can ascend in this lifetime. And then, you know, who knows where he is now in this lifetime? Like, who knows who he is now? He could be, you know, the hummingbird that keeps visiting. He could be the mailman. He could be, you know, somebody who doesn't exist yet. Who knows, right? Like it could be anybody. He may not be in her life in this lifetime. But my point is, nothing happens by accident. Nothing happens by coincidence. So some people might be looking and going, well, that's just a coincidence. That's just a coincidence. It's not. Like my dad grew up with an absentee drunk and then an absentee father. And so one of his, and a lot of that passed down to him, and then a lot of it passed down to me. I'm not going to lie. But one of the benefits of it was my dad, when he had his own kids, said, if I do nothing else right in my entire life, I am not going to be the same kind of dad that my dad was. Like, I'm going to be around, I'm going to be present, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. And my dad, I mean, everybody has their things, right? But he is 1,000,000 times better a parent than his dad was. And then I would like to think that I am, maybe not 1,000,000 times, but I am an even better parent than he was to me, because he was able to be a better parent than his dad. Because he said, he's like, it would be so easy for him to blame all of his shit on his dad and become a drunk and become an absentee and take off and all of these things. It would be so easy. And people would understand. They would go, oh, well, your dad was like that, so that makes sense that that you're like that too. You didn't have a good role model, blah, blah, blah. But he used it as fuel to say, absolutely not. That ends right now. So in a way, my dad is a cycle breaker too, right?
So was my dad.
Right.
Because he grew up in a home of fucking stupid abuse. I mean, insane. Like, him and all of his siblings got the shit beat out of them just for breathing. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't see any of that abuse in my home growing up, but the part of that trauma staying with him forever and him operating from that place of depression and sadness. And he was an alcoholic towards the end of his life. You know what I'm saying? But that was the only way he knew how to cope. That was the only way he can express himself and his feelings. But it's running from yourself. There's no other way, you guys. Like, the alcohol, the drugs, the partying, all that stuff is just temporary fixes. Like, we have the tools now, right? The world has come into this awareness of our gifts now and how to heal, not just by textbook, but your spirit, right? Because prior to now, I feel like, even for myself, it was just like, oh, here's medication. They're reading from the book. Well, the textbook says, X, Y, and Z should work for you. No, now we're healing fully, completely, energetically, vibrationally, getting this shit out of our body that we've been carrying, rewiring our fucking DNA. Mm-hmm. This is what we came here for. Mm-hmm. And all the people who come into our path, that's how deep it is. This is not surface level shit, you guys. Like, we have been chosen by our ancestors to be the ones that break these fucking cycles, right? Everybody else in my bloodline, the women were all abused, all of them. They still haven't fucking made it out. Mm-hmm. They're in their 60s. They're still in abusive, 7-18. There's my dad coming through. They're still in abusive relationships, right? Mm-hmm. I broke that cycle, but I had to experience it to know and to be able to do that, right? And it sucks that we do have to experience this darkness because it doesn't feel good as we're going through it, but there's a purpose behind everything. Yeah. Yes. Once I got over the pain of not being able to save my father, then everything started to make sense. Like, oh shit, he's the one that told me. He just kept saying energy vibration. Everything's energy vibration. Before he passed, I had no fucking clue what he was saying, but he was giving me the breadcrumbs. Mm-hmm. Right? He was already activating me. That was his purpose, to activate me. That was part of our contract. You're going to put me through all this pain. You're going to grow a level of compassion in me that I did not have prior to any of this darkness. Right. Okay, because we cannot fucking do this work unless our heart chakra, our heart is open completely. You have to have compassion. You have to be able to feel other people's emotions. So even people who've been told their whole life, oh, you're too sensitive. No, it's a fucking gift because you need that. You have to be able to feel what people are going through so that you can do this work from your heart space with an open heart. It's genuine. Mm-hmm. Everything makes sense. In the end, when we're going through it, it doesn't quite, right? We have to have faith. We have to really fucking believe that everything is always working out in our favor. Yeah. And that's all I keep repeating every single day. Yeah. Everything is always working out. I'm a fucking master manifester, and everything is the unfolding of my manifestations and my purpose. Yeah. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And so is everybody else. Yeah.
You have to. And that's something that, especially, in the last couple of years, any tough thing I've been through, I'm just like, okay, like as I'm actively going through it, as it comes up, I'm actively going through it and I go, okay, this sucks, but I've been through, other hard things and I can do this too, but also I'm going to be able to help somebody with this. So not only do I take on getting through it for myself, but I also make that part of my why. Getting through it is imperative, because I was like, okay, this is happening because I'm going to be able to help. I'm going to encounter someone at some point now who's going to be going through something exactly the same or similar enough that I'm going to be able to draw on this experience. So it only serves me and benefits me to sort this out and look at it for what it is and figure out what's happening so that I can use this later to help somebody else. Because it's not, I fully understand. And Teresa, like she just said, fully understands. This is not just about me going through this thing. The only reason I'm going through this thing is to help me become the person I need to become in this lifetime. And for us specifically, because we are light workers and you're here watching, so chances are you are as well. Anything that you've been through also is to help somebody else. Whether, and I'm not talking about, maybe you're not meant to be a coach or a mentor or a consultant. Like I'm not talking about, authoring books and things like that necessarily, but maybe it's just you meet somebody in your next workplace. Maybe, you run into an old, a cousin you haven't seen in a long time. Maybe you run into maybe you make a new friend and they're just in this tough place and you're like, oh my God, I have actually, like, you're the light for them. Like, I'm going to give you just an example of how this works. And then we'll call it a day. But so Sunday, my son, said he didn't want to do anything. He wanted to just hang out at home. And then all of a sudden he's like, no, I want to go to this particular pool. And then my husband's like, okay, yeah, we can go to the pool. And then they're like, are you coming? And I was like, no. And they're like, well, how come? And I was like, I don't like going to the pool. Like the water's cold. I don't want to, whatever. So then they ended up going anyway, which is awesome because I had time to do, alone time things that I need. And they had a good, daddy son date and all that. But my son ended up making friends and going and playing with them. And my husband ended up having a conversation with a guy who said he is a few years younger than him, lives in Abbotsford. For those of you who are in BC, this is only going to make sense to you guys. But anyway, so he lives about 30 minutes away from where they were. We live about 15 minutes away from where they were. And the guy who Derek was talking to said, he's like, I didn't even know why I felt the need to come here today, but I had this this ridiculous urge that I needed to come to this pool right now. And he's like, and I understand now it's because we needed to have this conversation. And they both helped each other and they had a really, 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 really good conversation. And when my husband came home,
I want to scream.
I know.
So fucking good.
I know. And they both, the awesome thing is they both have the awareness because they've both been doing enough work and they're both open to God and the universe and all the universal whatever enough to know that there's a reason why they were brought together. And then that was obviously part of their conversation too. But it was just so cool. And then when my husband got home, he was like in this, he was almost kind of like in a daze, and he's just like, I don't know. He's like, I was on a high when I was talking to him. And now I feel kind of and I looked at him, I was like, what, like mind fucked? And he's like, yeah, kind of. It's just like, this stuff happens to us regularly. This is not like a new occurrence, but it's just like every once in a while you have a conversation with somebody or you have a deeper conversation with somebody you already know, which also happened to my husband last week. We had a deeper conversation with somebody we've known for quite a long time now. And the relationship just made sense on a new level. And it's just like, you have to understand that nothing happens by accident or coincidence.
It's like, once you get into this state, this higher vibration, this knowing and stuff, it is mind fuckery. It literally is mind fuckery because you sit there at the end of the day and you're like, oh my God, every fucking thing today that happened was divinely orchestrated. The spirit led me, my higher self, my subconscious led me all fucking day. This is crazy. Yeah. The fact that it can lead me all day long exactly where I'm supposed to be when I don't fucking put resistance out there, when I allow things to flow. It's absolutely nuts. It really is. I remember for a while I was sitting there like, what the fuck? Oh my God. It's like you're like a connect the dots all day long. Yeah. Literally. Divinely guided is everything that you need every single day. Just imagine that. To have everything you need every single day is crazy.
No. And then what ends up happening too is a byproduct, maybe not in the same day, but a different day, especially if you use, manifesting things like scripting and stuff like Teresa and I do, which is like one of our favorite things ever. It's like so good, is then you'll live a day where you get like halfway through, all the way through the day, and you're just like, oh my God, I literally wrote this all down. Yeah. And maybe while the things are happening, sometimes you click it right away. Sometimes it's not till later, or it's not till like the second or third thing. You're just like, hang on a second. This is like exact. And I had a Facebook, this is why it's top of mind. I had a Facebook memory pop up the other day of a couple of years ago where I was like, not even all the way through the day. And I was like, wow, this entire day so far has gone like, literally, if you had taken a page of my scripting, put it into a projector and then sent it out, which is how it works, put it out into the world. It's just like, this is like, because there's no resistance, because you're having days before that, like Teresa's saying, where you're letting yourself be guided, you're following your joy, you're following the nudges, you're not questioning, you're not resisting it. You're going to the pool that you're guided to go to, even though it really doesn't make sense for you to go there on a Sunday afternoon, because normally you wouldn't go there because there's too many people or whatever. Or you need to go to the store to get milk, like right this second. And it doesn't make sense because it could easily wait, but you're just like, no, like you just like, and I'm talking, it's not always like this, but for me, sometimes it's like, it gets so strong that I literally cannot sit still until I go and do whatever it is that I'm like the going and getting milk thing. I remember one specific time, and I ended up running into a friend of ours, and he ended up coming over and we had a great visit, and that was just a little minor thing. But I remember I was sitting there like literally buzzing, and I was like, I got up and I was walking around, and my husband's like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, I don't know, I got to go get milk right now. And he's like, I was like, I don't know, but I have to go right now. I'll be back
to what
in
we
a few
started
minutes.
with.
Yeah.
Right. Once you make the commitment, your journey will be blessed with uncommon good fortune at all the twists and turns of the road. Now that you've stepped into the unknown, the bridge can appear under your feet. And that's what happens. Yeah. Literally. Yeah. You have this urge, and then you meet somebody who's exactly where you want to be. And then they offer to get you there. Like, it could be as simple as that. Yeah. It'll all show up.
Yeah, I literally had that experience the other day. Yes, I literally had that experience the other day. I was thinking about something, and then I made a post in a group, and then I got people reaching out. Like, I'm talking like 6, 7, maybe even 8-figure, earning people offering to just give me advice. Like, and I was just like, oh yeah, that would be,
see,
that would be great. Thank you. It's just like, that's amazing. So it's just so funny. You just follow the nudges. Say the things that maybe don't make sense. Go to the places that don't make sense. Follow the intuitive nudges to go and get milk or whatever, and let it unfold. Well, that went off on a wayside tangent, but that was so good.
Somebody needed it. Somebody needed it.
Okay, so you guys, just to remind you, next Tuesday is the last Tuesday of the month. So if you want to get into the draw for our May giveaway, for the custom subliminal and the Reiki session with Teresa, make sure that you're sharing the video, you're commenting, shared, you're tagging people, do all the things to amplify your chances. And we will do the draw live the first Tuesday of June. So you've got this week and next week, whether you're sharing the replay or live, it doesn't matter. Just be sharing it, commenting, tagging. We would appreciate it so much. And I will at the very least send you some gifties, and you'll be in the draw. So thank you guys for hanging out with us so much. We love you so much. And we will see you again next week.
Bye.
See you.